Some people like to get on my profile and make assumptions. Assumptions about me. I find it rather funny. One of the biggest assumptions is that I'm coping. And I find that really funny. I do. I'd like to explain something to all the so-called sudden experts in the fields of genetics and archaeogenetics. Let me start by saying that I'm not an expert at all. The only thing that I do is regurgitate the knowledge that I have obtained and the data that I have obtained, and I post it on my Twitter. That's it. Now, why do some people say that I'm coping? Well, it's probably because I'm someone who is Northern European, 100% Northern European genetically, and yet, I'm sorry, my dog is peeing. We have to stop for a moment. I'll show you the view in a sec. I have a paternal lineage, or a Y haplogroup, if you will, that is rather uncommon in Northern Europe. And I actually found out that I had it by accident. You see, my last name is Germanic. It's, in fact, a very old and rare Germanic last name. I'm not going to tell you what it is. And I thought that was very strange that I carry a rather rare Y haplogroup for Northern Europe that is more common in Southern Europe, the Caucasus Mountains, and West Asia, respectively. But I didn't really think that much of it. I thought it was actually pretty neat, especially since I'm somebody that has always loved, actually, all West Eurasian cultures. I've found beauty and merits in every West Eurasian culture that I've studied. Oh, mosquitoes. And so, therefore, I thought it was really interesting. I started researching the origins of my Y haplogroup and studying about the Caucasian hunter-gatherer and the Western hunter-gatherer, Anatolian Neolithic farmer, Eastern, and what have you. And one of the oldest samples of a Caucasoid human being carrying light skin alleles is from a Mesolithic hunter-gatherer from Setserblia, Georgia, who also carries my paternal lineage. And I lived in Russia for a while, and funny enough, while I was living there, I learned so much, not just about Russian people, but also Caucasian people as well. I fell in love with, and mind you, this is before I found out I was paternally Caucasian hunter-gatherer. I fell in love with the Georgian and Ingushetian, Chechenian, Kabardina, Circassia, Armenian people. They have such a rich and ancient history, all of them respectively, and I felt immense pride that I shared common paternal ancestors with many of these people. And for a very long time as well, I was of the persuasion that, yeah, well, you know, it seems like that Y haplogroup R and Eastern hunter-gatherers really were the ones that exported the Indo-European language family based off the information that we have. But then things got rather interesting for me when my, not necessarily my geneticist, but someone in the forums that I'm a part of in Family Tree DNA, he was quite interested, ouch, with the fact that I carried this Y haplogroup, and him and a couple others in our forum wanted to pay for my big Y. At the time, I wasn't doing very good with money, and I asked them, well, I mean, are you sure you want to do that? And they said, well, yeah, you know so much about this subject, and we'd like to study it with you. And I said, well, all right, you can do it then. And they paid for it. They paid for my big Y. And then after they did that, it was a little bit around this time where Joseph Lazardus was talking about the CLV climb. And excuse me, I'm sorry, I might have swallowed a bug. More protein. I'm in my natural habitat, you see. Very happy here. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. This is my church, my temple, and I just heard my angels crowing. They're called ravens. Anyway, that was cringe, I'm sorry. Anyway, so we got this big Y, and the oldest sample on my subclade that I'm connected to is from a Neolithic Armenian individual from Akhnashan. And I thought, well, wow, that's really cool. And then, of course, there was a Bronze Age Mycenaean Greek. I thought, oh, that's amazing. And then we come to find later, I come to find later at least, upstream, I share a common paternal ancestor with Sredni Stog. If you don't know who Sredni Stog is, or who they were rather, it was a steppe culture that predates the Yamnaya. And the Sredni Stog carried, apparently, a plethora of Y haplogroups, not just R, I and J as well. And then I started studying the data of Joseph Lazardus, actually. And in his data, it mentions this very integral and important southern signature from Akhnashan, Armenia. Well, it was at that point that I thought, well, maybe this story is a little bit more complicated, you know? And then I started reading about the Hittites. The Hittites possessed CLV Klein DNA, and they possessed almost no to negligible Eastern hunter-gatherer DNA. And I can share this data with you. And they spoke Proto-Indo-Anatolian, which was older than Proto-Indo-European. But they did not carry any steppe-mediated DNA. You see, even if they carried a small amount of Eastern hunter-gatherer DNA, Eastern hunter-gatherer DNA is distinguished from steppe DNA, utterly and completely. Steppe DNA is basically a conglomerate of Eastern hunter-gatherer and Caucasian hunter-gatherer, and a little bit of other components. But the Hittite samples that we've studied only carry, if any, such a minute amount of Eastern hunter-gatherer ancestry. And Eastern hunter-gatherer DNA was a very small amount of it, even already in parts of Mesopotamia before the Yamnaya started exporting the Indo-European language family. Now, well, what does this mean? Let me explain. Proto-Indo-Anatolian is older than Proto-Indo-European. They come from a same common ancestor. And what this means, if the Hittites lacked steppe DNA, that steppe DNA was never needed for there to be an Indo-European language. However, Eastern hunter-gatherer DNA, most confusingly, was needed for there to be a Proto-Indo-European language, but not a Proto-Indo-Anatolian language. Because these Proto-Indo-Anatolians split from the common ancestor of Proto-Indo-European long before the Yamnaya would export Proto-Indo-European across the world. So, the point of this video that I'm trying to make here is that it is mathematically impossible, and it's foolish to say that the Indo-European language strictly and solely came from Caucasian hunter-gatherer and Eastern hunter-gatherer and Anatolian Neolithic farmer. It didn't. That's impossible. It came from three major West Eurasian cultures. Because this Akhenaten-related people who moved up north of the Caucasus were basically just Caucasian hunter-gatherer and ANF. So stop saying that Indo-European came from one of these sources. That's impossible. The Yamnaya had a bottleneck effect, and they had a lot of kids and they learned metallurgy from the metallurgists of the Caucasus, like the Makop culture. And when they learned metallurgy and they had chariots, boy, did they spread far and wide. And now I'm 50% them. I'm 50% Yamnaya. That's why I look the way that I do. Okay? But the Yamnaya were 80% CLV climb. Now this rare subclade that I have very well could have been from the CLV climb. So not only am I 50% Yamnaya, but I may very well be paternally CLV climb. And another thing I have to add too, also, by the way, these weird statements that people are making, it's whatever, I don't even want to get into it. It's disgusting and cringe and gay. The Yamnaya, by the way, their mitochondria haplogroups were not Caucasian hunter-gatherer. Not really. Not compared to their Anatolian Neolithic farmer and their Eastern hunter-gatherer mitochondria haplogroups. And that also had geneticists scratching their heads like, well, where did all this Caucasian hunter-gatherer DNA come from then if the Yamnaya didn't have maternal Caucasian hunter-gatherer haplogroups? Well, now we know. It came from the CLV climb. It came from this Caucasian hunter-gatherer slash Anatolian Neolithic farmer admixed people who moved up into the Caucasus and introduced animal husbandry, possibly metallurgy that they picked up through their Caucasian kin in the Caucasus. And these people most assuredly spoke the oldest Indo-European language family, Proto-Indo-Anatolian. I thought that tree had a face for a second there. Heebie-jeebies. Hope I'm not pissing anything off in here. I come to this forest a lot. So that was the point of this video. There is no coping with me. There's a thirst for knowledge and a deep curiosity with who I come from. Because I am, indeed, like you, European man and woman, Indo-European, Caucasian, Western hunter-gatherer, Eastern hunter-gatherer. Ooh, look at my eyes. Just like you. Have a good day.